Estonian Jagermeister, a sandwich dilemma, and eating Christmas trees? This week, we're in Tallinn, Estonia.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is where food and travel come together at destinationeatdrink.com, on the Destination Eat Drink YouTube channel, and right here on the Destination Eat Drink podcast. This week, we're in Estonia for black bread, delicious desserts, and intense liqueurs. But first, if you like Destination Eat Drink, rate and review the podcast on your podcast app. Takes just a second. I'll wait here while you do that. Okay, thanks for doing that. And if you really like the show, please consider a one-time or recurring contribution at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. You can do so in any amount, even as little as $1 a month, or a one-time contribution in any amount as well. Thank you very, very much. My guest this week is Anastassia from Discover Estonia, a tour company that takes visitors all over the Baltic country, including the capital of Tallinn. Anastassia talks with me about unique chocolates covered in cheese curds, a signature drink ordered by the Soviet Union, and an authentic Estonian market. We also try to settle a sandwich debate. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Anastassia from Discover Estonia, welcome to Destination Eat Drink. I'm very excited to get to talk to you today about Tallinn, Estonia.
Hi, hello. Yeah, I'm very pleased to talk to you also. Let's do that.
I think Estonia is kind of one of those places that Americans have heard of, but maybe they don't know a lot about. So let's start this conversation by you telling me a little thumbnail, a little miniature idea as to what makes Estonia unique and Tallinn specifically.
I think what you said is right, because a lot of tourists, when they end up in Tallinn, they turn up here by accident, because people book trips for seeing big cities in Europe, such as Stockholm, Helsinki, and so on, yeah. And there is also like a stop in between, especially on cruise ships, the stop in Tallinn also. And people don't have a lot of expectations for that. But tourists usually, they feel quite happy in our town, and often it turns up to be like the most favorite stop for people. So what makes our town, like Estonia generally and Tallinn in particular, special? We're best known for our Gothic character, for a lot of really old buildings. And obviously American people and generally people from New World, they really like old buildings. Some of them, for instance, are 600, 700, even 800 years old. So that attracts a lot of visitors. We have a lot of forest, a lot of wildlife, a lot of wild animals. And we have a lot of exhibitions, museums, theaters, and we have very tasty food. So I can tell you that one thing why people are not coming here for is a nightlife.
Okay.
We don't have very rich nightlife. For instance, I used to live in London. I'm from Estonia. I was born here. My mom is Russian. My dad is Estonian, by the way. So I represent myself for Friendship of the Nations. But I also have been around. I've been to many places, and I spent 5 years in London. And London's nightlife is like amazing, really. So in Estonia, we have like fairly moderate comparing to that. But everything else is cool, honestly. And more and more people are coming here every year.
I only know Estonia from, I learned about it in history class when I was a student, of course.
Well, that's good enough, even that is cool.
And then I know from videos I obviously watch a lot of
Yeah.
travel videos, and I've seen shows about this. And the thing I've always wanted to do, and I still haven't done it yet, even though I'm here in Portugal, I'm not too far away from you, is I wanted to do a dual trip with Helsinki and then take the ferry over to Tallinn, Estonia, and then do Estonia as well, and do several days in each city. Is that a popular way to spend a vacation besides doing the cruise ships that you talked about, Anastassia?
Well, that's a really good idea, and a lot of people do that. And one of my tourists, for instance, she told me that she came to Helsinki. That was her destination mainly. And then when she was in Helsinki, she Googled what's the best thing to do in Helsinki, and Google said take 1 day trip to Tallinn. So she came, and very often when people come to Helsinki, they go to Tallinn for a day, and also vice versa. And a lot of people in the winter, if they travel to Lapland, they go to Lapland and then Helsinki and Tallinn. And there is also a very good idea is to visit like Baltic states, for instance, the capitals, Vilnius, Riga, and Tallinn. So that's what people are doing quite often also.
Let's talk about Tallinn specifically. One of the things that I always say to do on your first day is to take the food tour. That's the first thing to do. And also make sure that you visit the local markets, because you can not only save some money because you can, buy some food and have a picnic and not have to eat out for that day, but also you get a really good idea of the local culture. Tell me a little bit about the markets in Tallinn. What are they like, and which one should we be sure and see?
Oh, well, we have wonderful market in not far away from the old town, which is called Baltic Market. But to be very honest with you, it's pretty much a tourist destination. It's quite touristy, but it's very entertaining. You can easily spend there half a day because you can see the goods from all over the world, literally. You can try a lot of different types of food, local food, foreign food, and also they have the biggest antique shop in the town. And it's not just interesting for people who like antique, but it's also like an oasis of Soviet times, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you can see how life looked like in Soviet times and so on. But if you want to see the local culture, I would suggest you go to the so-called Central Market, because Central Market is more authentic and the prices are also cheaper, and you can try some really tasty types of the local food, like a sauerkraut, or black bread, or honey mixed up with various stuff, with berries, or even with black garlic honey. Or would you believe me if I say that we eat Christmas trees?
Okay, tell me about that.
We actually eat Christmas trees, yeah. For instance, in Estonia, it's common to cut these tender branches of the fern trees in the spring, powder it, sort of make it a powder and mix it with honey. So we eat that. And it's good for at the end. We also, I have to mention that we live in the very tough climate conditions. Estonians, we say ourselves 9 months in this country are cold and 3 months are very cold. So at the end of the winter, people usually feel very exhausted. They're malnourished. They have the lack of vitamins and minerals. And then Estonians, we like to eat these types of honeys, the fern tree honey and the black garlic honey and this kind of stuff, which is very nutritious. Yeah. So you can get that there. And generally just see how life looked like even in Soviet times, because the Central Market hasn't been refurbished, hasn't been changed. And we have the Soviet past. We were under influence of Denmark, Germany, Sweden, Russian Empire, and that we were independent for a while. We got independent for the first time in history in 1918. So we're a relatively young country. Then during the Second World War, we were under Nazi Germany. And then after the Second World War, we became a part of the Soviet Union. So you can see some Soviet influence here, obviously. But the most impact was made by Germans. So the base of our culture is like it has a lot to do with German culture, you know.
How does that show itself in the cuisine? Are there certain kinds of dishes that you look at and you say, Anastasia, oh, wow, that really has a German influence with it?
It does, yes, it does big time. For instance, Estonians loving beer, drinking a lot of beer, is a bit of the
Okay.
German influence, no doubt about it. You know,
Good.
for instance, from 14th century, the right of making beer belonged only to German men. Onwards, up to the end of the 19th century, from 14th to the end of the 19th century, only German men had the right to make beer in our town. So we are a beer country, really, and Scandinavian people, they think of Tallinn as the beer capital of the Nordic Europe, you know. So that's German influence. And also we like to eat like sausages, like German style. We eat sauerkraut, like we cook potato, a bit of a similar way to Germans. Yeah.
That sounds very German.
Yeah.
Speaking of beer, I know you guys do a craft beer tour. What is the craft beer scene like in Estonia? Are there a lot of brewers coming out now that are doing their own thing, doing different kinds of stuff?
In our small country, our total population is only 1.3 million people. Yeah. By territory, we're the same as Holland or Belgium, but our population is like 10, 20 times smaller than in Holland and Belgium. And for this amount of the population, we have 2 massive beer factories and also about 50 crafted breweries, which is quite a lot.
Wow. That's probably more than are in Portugal as a total.
Maybe, yeah.
We got 10 million people here.
So generally, we have this this trend. It goes all around the world right now. The crafted beer culture, and also a lot of men in Estonia. You know, they have their own beer tank in the garage. So a lot of men are experimenting with making their own beer as well. Yeah,
they're making it in their garage. I love it. So when I come to Tallinn and I'm looking to have a beer, what should I look for? Like what kind of bars are there, and what kind of bars would you suggest for someone who wants to go and really enjoy a Estonian glass of beer?
Well, there is a pub in Old Town. It's called Hell Hunt. In Estonian, it's pronounced as Hellhund, which means gentle wolf.
Okay, different meaning.
Yeah, different meaning, but yeah, in English, that would, if in English, an American person would read it, it would sound as Hellhound. And they do a lot of local crafted, types of crafted beer. And if you would like to have like more thorough experience, then you would take a taxi and travel about 5 minutes away from the old town, and you go to the place called Põhjala. And Põhjala is one of the most famous crafted breweries in the area, and they have a tap room. So if you go there, you can try up to 24 types of the local crafted beer.
Oh, wow.
So that would be like a real beer fest here. And they also do food, which is quite nice and just generally like a good place to visit.
Well, we've kind of gone down this beer rabbit hole, and we'll talk some more about food in a moment. But if we're going to talk about beer, then we might as well talk about some of the liqueurs too, because as I was reading up about Estonia, I came upon this rum-based liqueur called Vana Tallinn.
That's right.
You talked about German influences. My understanding is that Vana Tallinn comes from the Soviet times. What can you tell me about this liqueur? What does it taste like? And, why is it interesting to try when we go to Tallinn?
Well, it's both like the recipe, it does come from Soviet times, from 1960s. That's right. But at the same time, a lot of people, they call Vana Tallinn Estonian Jagermeister.
Okay.
Also, that's not like entirely correct, because Jagermeister is like herbal recipe, and Vana Tallinn you're absolutely right, it has a base of the Jamaican rum, but it has a lot of spices also there. Yeah, so the thing is that in Soviet era, all Soviet republics, they were supposed to have their own signature drink. And we didn't have one, so we received an order from Moscow, create your signature drink. And very like, it was all like quite quick, and so the team of people, basically, they were nearly like locked in laboratory and working on that recipe. And they came up with the interesting concept. So they wanted to create something like fairly exotic, like to spice up local boring life, because we have a bit of the gloomy climate, and so on. But by the way, some tourists, unfortunately, they complain to me that Estonian people, they're a bit not so friendly and they don't smile that easily. So that's because of the climate, because of our history, perhaps. But anyway, that team of the specialists, they came up with a recipe and they took the exotic ingredients from many places in the world. They put them together into that kind of drink. And it became very popular, by the way, as far as I know. In 2010 or 2011, Vana Tallinn won a special prize in San Francisco, United States, in one of the festivals. Yeah, so some American tourists, they told me that you can actually buy it in the United States nowadays.
Oh, wow.
That's the most famous internationally, like the most famous Estonian drink internationally, yeah.
It's so, I don't know, strange, unusual that this drink has its roots in being commanded by the Soviets to invent your own specialty drink, Estonia, because, you think of when someone has like a specialty drink or a specialty dish that it kind of emerges organically, from the local, whatever the produce is or the, what's grown in the area. And you guys are just sitting there going, well, we got to come up with something. So here's what we did. And now it's this popular thing. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's like basically Soviet way of doing things. Yeah, that's right. But we ended up with this wonderful drink, so that's okay.
It all turned out good. A couple other drinks I want to talk about are called Kanukuk.
Kanukuk, yeah.
What is this?
That's another very interesting concept. In fact, the drinks which you are mentioning now, they represent like the whole layer in our history. Kanukuk is the drink which comes from 1920s, like end of 1920s. It's that time when we finally got independence for the first time in centuries. And then the society realized that we don't have like a nice, like a posh drink for ladies. And the concept, Kanukuk means the rooster on the stump. That's the translation from Estonian, like a cocktail, basically, the cocktail of red Estonian berries. And there are a lot of different types of berries. They're all red color. And also like a couple of spices. So the drink is a little bit spicy. And basically, initially that was invented as drink for ladies. Yeah, for like a nice occasion, for like when the middle class started to emerge in our society. Yeah, so that was kind of like the drink for special occasions for the middle class people. We still drink Kanukuk, and you can have it in a lot of different cocktails. If you go like around the bars in the old town, then you can have Kanukuk in cocktails quite often.
And what about the other one? And I don't know how to pronounce this. Kiiu Torn, Torn.
Kiiu Torn, yeah.
Kiiu Torn.
One good thing about Estonian language is that it's very easy to read. You just read it like it's written. So, Kiiu is the name of the place, which is about 50 kilometers away from Tallinn. And Torn means tower. Kiiu Torn is actually the smallest castle in Europe, which looks like one tower, in fact. Yeah. It's also like a very nice tourist destination, like in province. Yeah. And in that place in Kiiu, when Soviet Union collapsed, they had a very wealthy collective farm there, like which was doing really well in Soviet times. But then people were looking for some project where to invest money, and then they had the technologist lady who lived in that area, and she came up with also very interesting recipe. This is an egg liqueur, but the recipe doesn't have any chemical additives, nothing chemical added to that, no colorants, no emulgators, no stuff like that. It's entirely natural, and it's also like, what you call it? It's not that liquid, but it's like a mousse, basically, yeah? It's quite thick liquor.
Okay.
Creamy, like a thick cream, and it's all natural. And it's also very tasty, yeah? When people try, when we do the liqueur sessions, we have 5 different types of local liqueurs, and Kiiu-torn is being picked up as number 1 quite often, yeah?
So people really like it.
Yeah. And in Estonia, we drink it as, for instance, like we can add it with coffee, we can have it on its own. It be drunk room temperature with ice. Some people call it Estonian Baileys also.
I would love it with some coffee, I think. I love a little shot of liqueur in my coffee every once in a while, especially when I'm on vacation. So I think I'd like that in Estonia.
You would really enjoy your time in Estonia, because we drink coffee with Vana Tallinn. It's very common here. Even a few drops of Vana Tallinn makes it like really nice and full of aroma. And also it helps you to go through tough winters sometimes,
I'll bet. I'll bet.
Yeah.
I don't want to give the impression that it's all about drinking, because we talked about beer, we talked about liqueurs. Let's talk about some of the food. What are some of that you think of when you think of Estonian cuisine? What are some of your favorite dishes, Anastassia?
If I say to you that Estonian food is like the tastiest in the world, that would be lies. If I tell you that it's like the most refined or sophisticated cuisine in the world, that would be lies. So what special do we have? And I was thinking about it, and I wasn't even sure how to address it, actually. But then some feeling came to me, Estonian food. When you eat your food, in fact, you don't just appreciate it for the taste of it, but you also appreciate it for the feeling that you get after food, right?
That's at least as important, right?
Yeah, it is also important. And Estonian food is such food that it gives you real comfort after eating, It's like balsam for your digestive system. Because, look, we're a Nordic country, and it's really cold here. That's what I was I keep repeating that somehow. But anyway, we have a lot of warm types of food. Yeah, like soups. We eat a lot of soups, and it's moist. Our food is moist, even if it's like pasta, for instance, even potato. It often comes with a sauce. Most likely, you will receive some kind of sauce with it, hot sauce or cold sauce. It depends. Yeah, we eat a lot of soups, a lot of sauces. And for instance, when I was in London, interesting sensation, yeah, there are a lot of different type of food there. All like you can find very tasty food in London, but I couldn't help it. I kept eating, but at the same time, I kept feeling hungry all the time. Yeah, so that was like a lack of. That was some kind of like the lack of nutrition. And I think that Estonian food is very nutritious, generally. And we eat a lot of black bread. We call it black bread. You would probably just say rye bread, right?
Yes, rye bread.
Yeah, rye bread, we say mustleib in Estonian, which means black bread. We eat a lot of that. A lot of soups from meat, that would be pork and chicken mainly. Beef in our country is quite rare, and it's also quite expensive. We eat a lot of dairy products. We are famous by dairy, I would say, because a lot of neighbors, the country Estonia, Finnish people, Latvian people, they buy Estonian dairy with pleasure, and also Russian people. The border is now pretty much closed because of the political situation, but before that, a lot of Russian people were just crossing the border, like stocking up with Estonian dairy and just going back, because we have very tasty yogurts, tasty cheeses. Yeah, I would say that we're famous by dairy and by our bread, black bread. Yeah.
So the black bread, you'd have it with it. Would you have it with this open-faced sandwich that I heard about called kilovwy lieb?
Yeah, well, sandwich. Like generally, when Western people think of sandwich, then you have to have like two pieces of bread with something in between. Yeah.
Right.
But in Estonia, we don't like eating like so much bread. It's just the bread is only underneath, and then you put fish there. You put egg, maybe a bit of like something green. Yeah. Fish is a big part of our cuisine, no doubt about it. All sorts of fish, fish from the sea, like the freshwater fish, and the sprat, Baltic sprat, yeah, the sandwich. Some people just call it like Nordic sardine, you know?
Herring.
Yeah, like sprat. No, it's herring.
Oh, sprat. Right.
Sprat. Yeah. It's different. The sprat is smaller than herring. Yes. So we eat a lot of that, and like put black bread, sprat, bit of like boiled egg there, something green. Yeah.
This would make for a really interesting scholarly debate. You know, is it really a sandwich if there isn't that second piece of bread to go on top? Because we would call we'd call it an open face sandwich in the United States.
Sandwich.
Yeah, because there's nothing on top of it. But really, is it a sandwich if there's not that second piece of bread? Maybe it's something completely different. I don't know. This is something that culinary scholars will have to debate, or maybe you and I can have a debate over a pint of beer in an Estonian bar, and make a decision on that.
Yeah, in Estonian language we call it võileib, which means like bread with butter, something like that. Yeah.
What about this snack called kohuke?
Kohuke.
Kohuke.
Kohuke, that's like, when I think of kohuke, I remember my childhood right away because it's like a kiddie food, you know, maybe a bit like a tasty cereal in Western countries, but kohuke is often eaten for breakfast or just could be just eaten for dessert, yeah. And we have such thing as, it's a bit like cottage cheese, but it's, I think you call it,
cheese curds.
Cheese curds, yeah. That's the one. So kohuke is cheese curds, just with this, like with vanilla, with sugar, and like quite a few other ingredients. I think it's a bit of the sour cream there, like mixed up in a nice paste, and all it's like covered up with the chocolate, yeah.
And that's mostly for kids, you said. What if I were going out to, say, a restaurant or something, and I wanted to have a nice dessert with my meal? What would I look for? What kinds of things would we get?
You can have kama dessert, which is a very Estonian thing. Kama is the mix of 5 different ingredients, like mix of roasted flours, like rye, oat, barley, grinded peas, and wheat. Yeah, 5 ingredients, all like powdered and roasted. And this mix we add into a whipped cream, and that makes it really nice. Well, we're on these food tours, and I haven't met any single person who didn't like it because it's very tasty, you know.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah, that's very Estonian thing. And by the way, that's also the most ancient type of food, which we know about. For instance, like the first traces of kama found here dates back like 2,000 years ago.
You mentioned a couple of times the brutal winters in Estonia. So would you say the best time for us to come visit would be in the summertime?
Well, it depends really. For instance, a lot of people from hot countries, they like to come here in the winter because they like to see the snow, and also they want to feel that miserable sensation of being freezing cold, which they naturally never experience. Yeah. But otherwise, the really good time to come would be during July, because July is the warmest month, at least like generally. And also we have 2 very famous and like the best festivals are happening in July. One of them is called Hanseatic Days. Hansa is the union of the trading cities in medieval times, and Tallinn was part of it. And in this festival, you can see a lot of people are wearing medieval outfits. They're walking just around the town, and the craftsmen are working on the streets, and they have light tournaments. Basically, it's like time traveling. Yeah, all of a sudden, you see how life looked like 600 years ago. Yeah. And another one is called Sea Days. Sea is also a big part of our life. By the way, our coastline is 4,000 kilometers because it's quite convoluted. And the Sea Days is also, it's situated, the festival is taking place next to the most famous museum in Estonia called Maritime Museum, Seaplane Harbor. And you can see water show there. There is some interesting ships coming from all over the world for this festival, and just generally very entertaining. So July, I would say, is the best month to visit. Yeah. Or if you come from the hot climate, then I guess maybe January or December, just before Christmas.
Sounds like so much fun. And I guess in July, you'd also have really, really long days because you're so far north. So you could get a lot of stuff in.
We have white nights. That's true. Yeah. Or the sun goes down only for like 1 or like 2 hours a night. And then the rest of it is like fairly light. Yeah.
Well, Anastassia from Discover Estonia, it's been great talking to you. We'll have links in the show notes for folks to get in touch and book a tour with you on their visit to Estonia. I'm looking forward someday to making it up there, and maybe we can have a beer. And then maybe if you want to come down to Portugal, we'll take you out for a ginginha and a pastel de nata. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. So thank you for invitation. Portugal is one of the very few countries which I haven't visited yet. So maybe one day. Yeah. But thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you here in Estonia.
Okay, that's Anastassia from Discover Estonia. You can learn more about Estonia and her tours at discover-estonia.com. There's also a link in the show notes. And what a great trip it would be to go visit Estonia. I got to make that happen. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we're in the urban islands of Xochimilco. That's in Mexico City. Don't miss that. Until then, get over to destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a story about buying sweets from cloistered nuns in Seville, Spain. It's a must-do experience when you visit Seville, and you can read about that at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I also just posted a new video about Guimarães, Portugal. I try some delicious pastries and dine at a Michelin-recognized restaurant in the highly underrated Portuguese city of Guimarães. You can see that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com, or you can go to YouTube at Destination Eat Drink 946. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson. I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.